Leinster with another dominant performance in the Champions Cup, beating Glasgow 52-0. I have to say I'm a little bit surprised of the scoreline. I know Glasgow were missing Xander Fagerson, they were missing Tuibolatu, who's obviously been out for a while now. They also don't have Hugh Jones, but I felt like this would be a more competitive game based on what I saw out of both teams last week. But to talk about the positives, let's talk about Leinster themselves. What an impressive team. And I think this team is really summarised by being better than the sum of their parts, and each individual part probably being such high quality that it's probably receiving massive import tariffs from Trump if they were ever exported to America. They're just that good. You know, you got some of the players on there, they are arguably the best in the world at their position. Andrew Porter, Dan Sheehan, Tadhg Furlong, R.G. Snyman, Joe McCarthy, Jack Conan, Gibson-Park, Jordie Barrett. You know, the names go on and on. But what this team does really well is that it blends all those together and then somehow adds a multiplier onto what this team can produce, to the point where, you know, if you cloned a lot of these boys that are Irish, put them in a green jersey with the rest of the Irish team, and then you played this team against Ireland, I think this Leinster team could theoretically beat them. You know, they've got the talent for it for sure. When it comes down to it, you know, the way that the interplay is between this team is really the difference between a team that's been brought together by buying this guy and bringing that guy and that, and the difference between that and having a true Galacticos team of players that can come together. Obviously, I think a lot of that is helped by having an Irish core. The meme is out there, you know, Leinster's the Irish team, you know, but then you see how R.G. Snyman kind of fits in like a glove. You know, it's got to be the first time. I usually watch the Premiership, so I know R.G. Snyman has been playing for you guys in Leinster for a bit, but this is probably the first time I've seen R.G. Snyman play close to like an 80 minutes. Usually for me watching him, it's watching him play at international level where he comes off the bench, but the interplay between him and other players, he obviously has his famous offloading game, and like he even offloaded it to like Joe McCarthy, his fellow second rower quite a lot, which was cool to see. Jordie Barrett, you know, coming into this team from the Hurricanes, wanted a different challenge. You know, all credit has to go to him. He could have gone to Japan for an easy life, but he comes to play in the URC in the Champions Cup, and he has a magnificent performance today. You know, complete turnover machine. His offloading was also great. I think it was harsh to call the pass from Garry Ringrose to him to go in for what was a disallowed try. I thought that was a backward pass, whether it was on purpose or not. But that play for me really kind of just shows the chemistry that he has with this Leinster team already. You know, even after being there for less than a year and not being an Irish player, is obviously a very well decorated New Zealand player. So that's really cool to see. And yeah, as I said, it's just how all these different players bounce off of each other. They really they complement each other so well. You know, I think the real difference is from this team compared to previous teams that Leinster have fielded, and I've gotten so close to that Champions Cup victory and fallen at either the last hurdle or the second to last hurdle, is I think it's fly half. It really is. I've said this analogy before, and I'll say it again. Driving Leinster, driving Ireland is like driving a Ferrari. And for too long, I felt like Leinster's been driven by a Formula 4 driver. He's been given the keys to a Ferrari, and, you know, he's just not good enough to kind of boss the team around. And Prendergast has come in and he's proven many times that he's great. He's got a lot to still go in his career. But today he proved he's worthy of the car keys. He is the Stig. He is the Italian job. He's a great driver. I kind of ran out of analogies there. But all the control and the victory that happened within the first 20 minutes of this game, which I was tempted to do the review after because I would have gone ahead of everybody else, and two, it was because the game was over at that point, is because Leinster forced Glasgow in their own half consistently. And that was because every single time that Glasgow tried to get out of their own half, there would be a monster kick by Prendergast to put Leinster back, putting the pressure back on Glasgow. There would be Prendergast bossing a counter-attack to put Leinster back into a counter-attacking opportunity. His intelligence of knowing the game, understanding it, just knowing where to push the ball on the field to keep your team at an advantage. As a former forward myself, watching a fly half play like that, you just know his forward pack is so glad to be playing with a fly half that does what he does, what he did today. Not all the time. He's made mistakes. He's not been the best fly half in the Six Nations, but every week it feels like he improves a little bit more from what I watch. So a really great performance. And I do think he's, there's all this like Lions hype about, someone has a bad game, they're out of the Lions conversation, and this guy's, Henry Pollock's done a chip and chase. He needs to start every series. Well, I don't want to buy into that. I am going to kind of be releasing a video that's like, I say it like it's a surprise, but like 70% serious with 30% mirth, like all of my videos, which will probably be titled like the last Lions selection video you'll ever need, because there's just too much kind of talk of that who's in and who's out. But the point that I'm trying to get to is that I think the only player really that we can see at the moment that's really playing themselves into getting onto that plane, or has the opportunity to play themselves to get onto that plane, is Sam Prendergast. I don't think Pollock, who's obviously playing very well for Northampton, has the same conversation. But I think Prendergast does, because it's not just playing well for club level, it's possibly taking your team to a coveted Champions Cup final and win that's eluded for them for so long. And it's not being like a wallflower within the team, it's being a pivotal member of that team to take them to that. That is not... I don't think you can overstate that importance of him doing that, if he can do that for the team. Obviously, it's a team effort. I don't want to take it away from that. But he's the different element this year that I think changes the picture for Leinster. It makes them have 2 convincing wins in a row from the round of 16 through to today as well. In the quarterfinals against Glasgow, they have a fly half that can really, ride the wave. He's young, but he's got his big boy pants on, and he knows how to boss this attack perfectly. So, yeah, I run out of superlatives. I think his performance today was truly excellent. But I don't think it overshadows some of the other guys in this team. Tommy O'Brien, first I've seen of him, to be honest with you, I think he was great. A great compliment on the wing to James Lowe, who's obviously, you don't need to talk about how talented he is. Hugo Keenan, that's becoming a meme now of, we don't talk about Hugo Keenan enough. I'm going to talk about Hugo Keenan. I thought he was really good. I thought he played well. I think he's a good player. He scored a try too, and that was cool. Very good player. So yeah, all in all, right now, and I know you Leinster fans probably don't want me to say this because you've gotten so close so many times and fallen at the last hurdle. But if you go back to my previous videos in previous years, I have said that there is a loss in this Leinster team coming, and it does eventually come. And I got so much shit for doing that. But this year, I just don't see it. You think about the remaining teams that are left within the championship. You've got Northampton Cast, Leinster head and shoulders above both of those by like a long stretch of the imagination. Toulon and Toulouse. I've actually got money on Toulon beating Toulouse this weekend. After Toulouse had that performance against Sale, I think Sale exposed some weaknesses in that team. I don't think they're the same attacking wise. I think Toulon, I like the way they play rugby. It's very generalistic approach. But my point, more sort of sticking on topic here, we'll talk about that game when that happens, is that Leinster, there's no question marks about that team. Toulouse, they're missing Dupont. Attack didn't look the same. Toulon is not the Toulon of old, even though they're a very serviceable team. They're like Toulon light, right? From what they were back in 2013 era. Who else is still in this competition? Munster. If Leinster come up against Munster, it's probably a good game, just because they know each other so well. The rivalry's there. But you would still argue on paper Leinster's the better team. And then there's Bordeaux. And I do think Bordeaux are going to beat Munster this weekend. But I think probably Bordeaux are the only team that can really challenge Leinster at this stage. That's probably the only team that, if I'm a Leinster fan, I'm circling that as my team that could possibly change things and make it not go the way I want it to be. Mainly because I've just talked about Prendergast's kicking game and putting the team in the right areas of the pitch. Bordeaux will do much more with counter-attacking ball than Glasgow did today. Glasgow rely on playing through the middle. Bordeaux will attack from the wings and all over the place and be unpredictable in how they attack you. Whereas I think Glasgow's attack is, it's quick, it's quick fire, but it's a bit more predictable to kind of plan against. So I think Bordeaux has the potential to be the bogey team. Booger feels like something I'm picking out of my nose. Bogey feels like golf. I feel like I'm trying to think of like a scary thing. The Sandman. Bordeaux is the Sandman for Leinster at the moment, I think. If you're just talking about it all on the page, on the paper. God, my brain is just not clicking. It's been a while since I've done a video, but I think that's the one team that if you're Leinster, you're not quite sure you can beat them right now. I think the rest of them you can. There's just such depth to this Leinster team as well, right? So RG Snyman's on because James Ryan, who has a chance to be a British and Irish Lions this summer, I think maybe he's been on a previous tour, I'm not 100% sure, but that's more just talking about the depth they have at that position. Keenan Healy comes off for Andrew Porter, same, probably going to the British and Irish Lions. Dan Sheehan comes on for Ronan Kelleher, and Ronan Kelleher has enough island caps as well to be considered a decent international. I could go through every position here. There's so much depth in this team that, this guy comes out and this guy comes in. It almost just feels like this is Leinster's year. So a really good performance. Now, there are two teams that played today. Although looking at the score, maybe you think there probably was only one team playing. Glasgow. What do I say? I can't help but draw parallels to this Glasgow performance and also like every Scottish performance against like good teams. Scotland have become like, again, we're talking about memes of teams, team memes of teams. Scotland is like the ultimate meme team where they're like, oh yeah, we got all these players, we're going to be the best. Oh, we beat England a few times, we must be good. And then they go play South Africa and they just get bitch slapped all over the place. Felt like that today. I know I'm talking about Scotland, but Glasgow, it's a similar vibe. Is this as far as this Glasgow team can go? I don't think so. I think they're talented. They won the URC last year. I think a lot of their players are great. I think they definitely missed Sander Fagerson in the front row. The scrum was an issue. But like across the back row, they've got a lot of great players. That guy who came on, who was number 8 for them, had to come off early. Fair enough. Jack Dempsey's injured. Venter, he was fishing for eyes last week, so he's got left out of the squad. But this can't all just be like because 2 or 3 players aren't there. You can't. It feels like a classic thing for Scotland to use that, or Glasgow. I'm saying Scotland. I didn't mean that as a mistake. I meant it's the same parallel. You can't use that as if you're Scotland or Glasgow as an excuse to be like, sorry, well, just didn't turn up this time, did we? I mean, like, look at the rest of the team that you got. Ferguson, Tadhg, who I can't see it made a single turnover today. Didn't see him make one. George Horn, who wants to be Scotland's starting fly half, and apparently there's a lot of headlines about him. Adam Hastings, who I think probably would have a lot more Scottish caps if it wasn't for the Lionel Messi of rugby, of Finn Russell. Tom Jordan, who I think is a great player, really stepped into that 12 shirt for Scotland really well this Six Nations. I think he's more than just a footballer. He can really have some serious pace on him as well, and it has some great lines. Saffron McDowell, again, Scottish international. That back three as well of Rowe and Stain. There's talent there, right? Performance is not... It doesn't match up to the talent. And I think a moment for me where I realised Scotland, that was a mistake. I didn't mean Scotland, I meant Glasgow. The moment for me that I realised that Glasgow were never going to win this game was when the ball came off, I think it was Carl Rowe's face, when it was Leinster were going for a pass on the outside. Hits his face, bounces on the floor, collects it, starts running, outpaces everybody, does a chip and chase to try and score the try, and then he just runs out of gas. This is your fullback. What are we doing here? He's your fullback. Your fullback should be like the fittest player that you have on the pitch. Like, this is the guy who has to constantly cover kicks, has to be the last line of defence. Probably, I don't know the data on it, but I would probably say has the most mileage on average as a position compared to any other position on the pitch. And you're out of breath when you're chasing the ball. It just wasn't really good enough. Like, it just wasn't... I think you're watching that, and I think if you're a Glasgow fan, you're like, why did you slow down? You're not been doing your bleep tests? Do they not like fitness training in Scotland? Do you just rely on people coming up to your stadium and thinking, I don't like this artificial turf and it's bloody cold up here, so I won't play? I don't get it, you know? You look last year, you know, when they played the Bulls away, that heroic performance, and they played at altitude, no one was running out of gas from chasing a kick. This is bad. It's not good. And you're now out of the competition, and you're gassed, and now you've got to go back to the URC. At least if you're Leicester Tigers, you know, you got absolutely bitch slapped, and then you had a week off. Now, you know, if you're Glasgow, you're just in the crap, really. Yeah, not really, not good enough. I'm going to play good cop, bad cop here. Good cop probably being the rest of the media and everyone on social media, and everyone's like, oh, we love Scotland and Glasgow. Oh, they're great stories. Oh, they tried the hardest, but they lost 52-0. I'm going to be bad cop. Wasn't good enough. You know it wasn't good enough. I know it wasn't good enough. Let's not fool ourselves. It wasn't good enough. Even with your injuries, even with your players out, it wasn't good enough. So, that's the first of the quarterfinals done. I'm going to try and get a video out for every quarterfinal review, but I might or I might not. I don't really care. I'll just kind of do it, really. And I'll do what I want. And I wanted to do this video because I had some things to say. And those things are over now.